how North Korea finally made it impossible to escape. They call it the Hermit Kingdom for a reason, in North Korea. Escape isn't just illegal, it's treason punishable by death, but it's just the tip of the iceberg in a country with the world's worst human rights record. Let's see the dark reality of North Korea, where freedom is a whisper, movement is monitored, and dissenters vanish as the brutal regime forces 10 years of military service locks away 200. 00 prisoners in torture camps and controls every flicker of information. Imagine having to endure years of pleading and mountains of paperwork just to get a visa and then going through unnecessary torture. That's North Korea for you. North Korea is one of only 4 countries that publicly execute prisoners alongside Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Somalia. It's known for being super strict about letting out idlers in when foreigners do get permission to visit. They're closely watched and can only go on guided tours that show what the government wants them to see. Sometimes visitors break the country's rules and face serious consequences, like Otto Warmbier, an American who got arrested for trying to take a poster and ended up in a North Korean prison. He was sent back to the US in bad shape and died shortly after. North Korea is seen as the most secretive country because of its unique geography. Getting things in or out, or even trying to escape, is really tough due to the country's isolated position. For many years, the Kim dynasty in North Korea has been working hard to make the country like a virtual island, cut off from the rest of the world by the Sea of Japan and the Yellow Sea to the east and west. Escaping across these seas is tough because there aren't many boats in North Korea, and the North Korean Navy regularly patrols, especially along the coasts, especially near the Sioux southern areas close to South Korea. South Korea is a top choice for North Korean defectors. Because it's prosperous and advanced, the South Korean government sees all native Koreans, including North Korea's 25 million people, as its own citizens. When North Koreans make it to South Korea, they automatically become citizens, which is a big reason for them to leave since the 199's around 34. 00 North Korean defectors have gone to South Korea compared to about a 0 in Europe and 200 in the United States. Directly reaching South Korea is almost impossible due to the heavily guarded demilitarized zone DMZ along the entire southern border. Despite its name, the DMZ is the most heavily guarded border globally, with strict controls and lots of fortifications. Crossing it means dealing with walls, barbed wire, and about 2 million landmines. Orders to shoot anyone trying to cross make it even riskier, with lots of North Korean, South Korean, and American soldiers. In the past, another tough but possible route involved running across the northern border into China or Russia. This route was also used for smuggling forbidden items into North Korea, as the country has an official military alliance with China, and the country doesn't need lots of soldiers on its northern border with China, because there's no big threat of invasion. From China, the border with Russia is short, and also doesn't need many troops. Unlike the intense situation on the southern border, the northern borders are more peaceful. The border with China is really long, about 1,300 kilometers, following rivers through mountains and forests. In the past, this border was not closely watched, making it easier for people to smuggle things, or even cross during winter when rivers froze, or in the summer when water levels were low. But even if people managed to cross into China or Russia, it's not safe. Both countries have agreements to send defectors back to North Korea, treating them as illegal immigrants. This puts defectors at risk of punishment or even death back home. So the goal for those who escape to China or Russia is usually to get to another safe country nearby. However, not many nearby countries are safe places like Myanmar. Laos, China, and Russia usually send North Korean defectors back. Mongolia, Thailand, or Vietnam become the few options where defectors can find safety, especially because South Korea welcomes all North Koreans as citizens, ensuring they won't be sent back to North Korea. The plan for North Korean defectors was to cross the poorest mountainous border into China and gradually make their way to Mongolia, Thailand, or Vietnam. There, they would surrender to local authorities and be deported to South Korea for safety and a new life. This plan became more common in the 1990s when North Korea faced serious problems, including a big famine after the Soviet Union collapsed. The tough times led to a lot of desperation and more people trying to leave. Now, a lot of North Koreans suffered from famine, with estimates suggesting that hundreds of thousands to millions of people died. This situation led more people to obviously escape, but there was something other than that. Some North Koreans started smuggling things like food, medicine, and even forbidden items like Western or South Korean media. By the early 2000s, thousands of North Koreans were defecting each year, mostly going into China, and then making their way to places like Thailand, Vietnam, or Mongolia, where they could then be sent to South Korea. Defections reached a high point in 2009 with 2,914 North Koreans making it to South Korea. The number stayed high in 2010 and 2011 with over 2.0 defections each year. But in late 2001 and 11, when the leader who had been in charge since 1994 died and Kim Jong-un took over, things changed. Kim Jong-un, being Kim Jong-un, has been a lot more tough on defections and smuggling, using signal jammers, more intelligence, monitoring extra border fences, and increased patrols. Changes in Russia and China also made it harder for defectors, as Russia agreed in 2014 to send back any defectors caught in the country. After China passed a cybersecurity law in 2016, they significantly increased their surveillance with over 620 million cameras by 2020, more than 12 times the number in the United States. This, along with tight monitoring of the internet and phones, made it easier for Chinese authorities to spot North Korean defectors trying to reach safer places like Thailand, Vietnam, or Mongolia, making their journeys riskier. To cope with the higher risk, brokers and traffickers in China started charging more to help North Korean defectors escape. The average cost went from $22,000 in 2007 to $4,000 in 2012, reaching $88 by 2015, and spiking to between $113,000 and $166,000 by 2017, since most North Koreans earned less than $2.00 a year. Saving up such amounts became unrealistic for many, resulting in fewer successful defections in the 2010s. Escaping without outside help became the only practical option for most, involving navigating the northern mountainous border and traveling through China, known for its extensive surveillance and unfamiliar language. Successful escapes dropped, with only 147 North Koreans making it to South Korea in 2019, less than half the numbers in 2010 and 2011. The situation worsened in 2020 when North Korea, citing COVID-19 concerns, completely closed and sealed its borders, canceling international flights, stopping foreign trade, and halting travel in and out of the country. The pandemic gave the regime a reason to further isolate North Korean society, using the situation to tighten control over the population. The reported COVID-19 death toll in North Korea, officially 74, is suspected to be much higher, with some estimating around 45,000 deaths, which shows the regime's use of the pandemic to reinforce its isolationist policies. In August 2020, North Korea set up buffer zones on its borders with China and Russia, giving shoot-to-kill orders for those trying to cross without permission. Using COVID-19 as a reason, the regime built strong defenses along these borders, blocking traditional routes. Domestic travel restrictions were tightened and a law criminalized. Receiving foreign information, successful defections dropped significantly, with only 34 reporters in Q1 2023. Compared to thousands in the early 2000s, Kim Jong-un's plan aims to create a closed digital state, isolating North Korea. More, the regime raised risks for defections, with brokers charging over $21.00 per defector. The regime refuses to accept defectors caught in China, citing COVID-19 concerns, leaving an estimated 1.0 in Chinese prisons, now facing potential harm upon return to North Korea. Now, the duration of North Korea's isolation affecting both defectors and the general population remains totally uncertain. Since 2020, the country has transformed into a closed-off zone on the global stage, implementing strict measures to control movements in and out. North Korea's different geography, coupled with the regime's stringent enforcement of laws, border fortifications, and digital restrictions, were the ultimate reasons in creating this state of isolation in a world that loves freedom and connection. North Korea is a scary puzzle, making us think about the price its people pay for being cut off from the rest of the world. But how much longer will this isolation last, and what lies ahead for the people living under a regime that makes it nearly impossible to escape? What do you think? Let us know in the comments section.